Yo, this is Dash, and today I'm going to be doing something I've done before. There's a link to a video there. I'm just going to be slicing up some brisket, but I'm going to give you a very good, or hopefully a detailed bird's eye view of me slicing brisket. And the last brisket I did was rather wonky. All right, so here's my brisket. This brisket started life as a just under 15-pound brisket. It was like 14.8-pound brisket, and it was one of the wonkiest briskets I've had in a while. So what I want to do at this point for you guys is show you on a much better looking brisket exactly how I get it done. Hey, yo, this is Dash. Get ready. Welcome to my cutting board. This is my brisket board. This brisket board was given to me by Ian from customcuttingboardsrus.com. Get yourself one. There will be a link right there. Get yourself one of these brisket boards. It is a thing of beauty. They are a little expensive, but you get what you pay for. And if you do briskets like I do briskets, you need one of these. All right, here we have the star of the show. This is a brisket. Okay, so now first things first, what I always do when I get a brisket is I size it up. Basically, meaning, and I'm running my fingers on this back side here, and I'm gonna cut this part off just because it's a little bit of fat and it's just hanging off. But the good thing with brisket, there are two muscles. One muscle is running, actually it's this way, and the other muscle is running this way. But there's a big old piece of fat in between them. Now the easiest way and the best way that I've found to separate the brisket is to cut in right in the middle of that piece of fat, and you see how easily the knife goes in, pops out on the other end. There you go. And you're just going to go forward and aft along that line of fat. Now you see people cut briskets in half, like here, and they'll trim this way and call that part the flat and call this part the point. But when you do that, you have two separate pieces or two pieces of muscle and that fat line running in the middle. This way, you're going to cut the fat out and you're going to be giving your customer more of the actual meat and not a lot of the fat. There's my point. Here is my flat. Now you can see a lot of this fat that's here. I'm going to get rid of it. I know. There's a lot of people that are going to be mad about that. But guess what? Where I live, people don't want to pay for fat. They don't want it. So we're just going to cut it out. And it's going off to the side. We're going to keep that piece, but this part is where the fat's going to go. Now, the next thing is I turn this over. Now, me picking it up out of the pan, I kind of grabbed it and mangled it a little bit. But the grains of the meat are running this way. So you see a lot of people would have it this way, but you don't want to do that because you're not going to cut perpendicular to the way the grains of the meat are. So I turn the meat and I put this leading edge out and the grains are running this way. I'm going to be cutting this way. Gives me my perpendicularity. Is that the word? Now this brisket is cold. When I say cold, it's room temperature cold. So with that being said, it's a little tougher than if the brisket were warm. But I was not in a rush with this brisket, so I let it sit out. It sat out for like 2.5 hours. So I'm slicing it up now. And because it's cold, I'm having to fight with a little more. If this were warmer, and if you have a good sharp knife, the brisket, you'll be able to go in and down. Now, because it's a little colder, I'm having to do a little bit more work, but it's okay. Just watch your fingers and hold your knife true, and you'll be good. Okay, so now that I have my flat trimmed up and sliced, the smoke ring, I won't say I was in a rush, but the camera drowns it out. And also think, because of the fact that the brisket sat and cooled as well as it did, we're not going to see it right now. But no matter, brisket still tastes fine. So I'm going to turn this slightly, and I'm going to come this way. Watch your fingers. I'm going to separate this. I think we can get this into 4 pieces. And the reason I do this is to make these pieces smaller by default. So if I left these pieces whole, your party goers, your guests, would take 1 or 2 slices a piece, right? When they take 1 or 2 slices a piece, you're looking at almost a half a pound of brisket. When I slice these into 4 pieces, what ends up happening is someone will still take the same 2 or 3 pieces, and you're left with a third or a quarter of the brisket that they take. And with that being said, they will take less brisket because you have smaller pieces. So I'm running back through here, and we're going to make sure that's separated. And I'm going to go get a fresh pan to put these in. I'll be right back. I'm going to take and pick up and place my brisket just as if it were on the cutting board, or just like how it is on the cutting board. And we have the point going in one place and the flat is going on the other side. But this order was for a whole brisket. I use those little pieces to fill up the corners of the pan, like now if I were doing some brisket beans, I would be scraping up this and putting this into the beans for this customer, but no beans today. All right, so now we have our brisket point. And one of the things I do, or what I do, if you see me do enough of these videos, always that leading edge, I just push off the fat. And then I'm gonna come and square this up just to make it look pretty, I will put this into the pan. So I'm gonna, you know, it's one of those things where sometimes you do, I've seen people use a knife to make these cuts, but I just kind of have where I go. It's about 2 inches to, you know, I guess it is right about 2 inches, which is 2 blade widths. So if I start this way, roll it, and then, oh, wrong way. This way, roll it, and then slice. This way, roll it, and then slice. There's a good way for you guys to have even, consistent sized slices of brisket. Now, you might not be able to see this very well because of the light and the camera, but there's a piece of fat that's running through here, and I'm doing it this way so you guys can see. So I run, that's that fat we talked about earlier. I'm gonna cut that out. Turn my point perpendicular to the grain and slice it. Very thin slices. We're talking 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, biggest. We're gonna have to squeeze that one in there. All right, so again, this big piece of fat here, I'm gonna cut it down and out. And this is almost all fat. I'm right on that fine line of where the meat of the point was, so got a good cut there. Again, perpendicular to the grain of the meat. Same thing, there's a little bit of that fat decal still running down, so we'll get that out. Make our perpendicular cuts. And last one, the end here. There's not the fat that was on this end. I actually trimmed it before cooking, so there's a lot less fat, and we'll just get this cut up. Now, sometimes when you get to this piece of meat, it's really wonky. So what you can do is stand it up on that flat edge, that squared off edge that you already cut, and as opposed to cutting the short way, you cut the long way. All right, just to give you a easier way, because sometimes this butt end of the brisket basically can definitely be a little problematic when it comes to cutting it up. Shout out to my man Al Blades, cut it up.
Pull up to the yard and you know I'm dropping my gate. Back the mower off the whip, let's have that yard look great. Laying stripes back and forth, the haters say the grass is fake. All they do is imitate, but we do this every day. Cut it up every day. Cut it up every day. Cut it up every day. Cut it up.
Cut it up. All right, and that's it. Oh, this piece is going to go back in there. I'm going to trim this piece of fat off on the edge, and we'll get these pieces sliced up real small, and they're going to go into the corner. All right, there you have it. And there you have it. Simple as that. That is how, or that is my process on getting a brisket taken care of. I separate the point from the flat. I focus on the point, slice up the point, get it down in small pieces. Again, inherently as humans, I guess we have in our mind that we want to have a certain number of pieces of something. So when you have a smaller amount of pieces, one, it makes that brisket stretch longer. Two, it makes people not as wasteful, or they don't waste as much food there. Also taking and separating and slicing up the point. Today was the first time I've ever used that whole knife method to get a measurement and make the pieces the same width. But maybe you guys have done that before, or if you have not, then there's something for you to try for the next time. But either way, regardless, thank you guys again so very much again, as always, for watching. I hope to see you, well, I hope you see me in the next one.
More butter, baby.